My name is Stephanie Menor, and I'm here with Blue Moon Studio, and we are going to be making some really gorgeous, glamorous, glittery earrings together. So, when this is recorded, it's early November, and so we're thinking about holiday season. We're thinking about parties that we're going to go to. So, we have some really pretty earrings that we're going to make together, which you can fully customize to your own taste, to your own colors to match your outfit. So, all of these projects are made with UV resin, and we are going to show you all of the basics that you need to know to be successful your first time out using this product. If you're a complete beginner, this is the class for you. So let's switch the camera and take a look at some of the earrings that we're going to be making. So we have these larger hoop ones, and this uses like a two-tone effect with two different pieces that come out of molds. Same with this. This is two pieces, but this comes out of a mold, and this is a bead that you can buy at Michael's. Everything we're showing you here today can be bought at Michael's. Here's a third earring that's another two-piece that's got some gold flakes in it. Super, super simple to make. So let me show you how to do it. Move these off to the side. And we are going to show you some of the products that you need, starting with UV resin. So it comes in a bottle like this, and this is the 60 milliliter bottle. And there are several different bottle sizes available. That is the star of the show. And of course, we are also going to need something to cure the resin. So UV resin cures in UV light. And this is a UV lamp. So if I hit that button, see those lights come on? This is a 9-watt UV lamp. And this is what turns the resin from liquid into, it hardens it into like a plastic, completely clear plastic. So this timer runs for a minute, and we'll talk more about cure times as we get into it. We are also going to be working with several different silicone molds. So you can see these are very flexible. They are clear. You do not want to use any type of opaque mold with UV resin because, as I said, this product cures in UV light. So you need to make sure that light can go all the way in and through the piece to cure it completely. These are molds. We also have some other silicone things. We've got some silicone mixing bowls here. And this blue thing that you're looking at is actually a silicone mat. And that just protects the work surface. Because you know what? Sometimes I spill. And you need to protect it. Then we have some fun things to put inside the resin. So lots of different kinds of glitter and glitter flakes. So these are your traditional glitters, but we also have sort of non-traditional glitters, these metal flakes. And this is what the bottle looks like. It's from Recollection. So this is sold in like the paper crafting aisle. Here's what the back of this one looks like. It's called Rainbow Flakes. And then these are in the UV resin section. So all of these UV resin products, there's a whole section of it in Michael's in the jewelry making department. So that's where you'll find some specialty glitters like these flakes. And you're going to need some basic jewelry components. You're going to need beads, earring findings, and some other little findings that we bring out along the way, along with some tools. Just your basic jewelry tools. And I always keep some paper towels off to the side. And that is just so that I can wipe off my wood stick. So you'll see me using a wood stick a lot. Something like this. It's got a pointy end and kind of a doe foot end, I think they call that in the makeup world. All right, so let's get started. So first we are going to make this earring. This is the simplest of them. It has two parts, both circles, and they're connected with a jump ring. And then they have an earring finding on the back that is like a stud finding that goes through your ear. And so this is made actually of pieces from two different molds. So it's made from the larger circle comes from right here, and the smaller circles come from here. Inside this same mold, there are small circles. If I turn it this way, you can kind of see the size difference. So the choice is up to you what size little earring topper. I refer to these top parts as toppers that you want. But those are both available to you. And we'll talk about other toppers that you can do. All right, so what we're going to do is start with our cup here. Again, it's a silicone cup. Cured resin does not stick to silicone, so that's why so many things are made of silicone. And we're going to go in straight from the bottle into this cup. And I'm kind of eyeballing about how much I think I'll need for my earrings. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the gold flakes. Let me move this off to the side. So these flakes, they feel like real metal. It's not real gold though, unfortunately, but they sure feels like it. And the first thing I like to do is just make sure that they are small enough because some of these flakes are quite large. So I can just kind of like tear them apart in the little container because I want my earrings to have like smaller little flakes in them. You could get in there with a little pair of scissors as well. There's a big flake. Let's break that one up. All right, and then I'm going to put these flakes directly into my resin. And they are like very static clingy. Let's get them all in there. And just mix them around. Oh, here's some over here. Now, if you like to also mix in some fine glitter, it can kind of, I don't know, fill in the gaps between where these bigger pieces are. So I'm just going to take a little fine glitter and put it in there too. Not too much. There we go. And always keeping a paper towel off to the side. I just wipe that off before I set it down so I don't get resin all over my work surface here. All right, here are the two molds, and we can just pour. So the flexibility allows you to kind of squeeze. And you do want to fill that up to the top. And also one of these over here. And I'm just getting every little piece out of there. And now you want to take some time. This one, if you overfill the mold a little bit, you can kind of dip your stick in, kind of take out a little extra. I'm taking out the extra from that tiny one and putting it in the big one. And then I can just move these gold flakes exactly where I want them to be. If they're kind of clumped up in one area, you can kind of move them around. All right. This one seems a little clumpy though. Let's move that around. Okay. All right, so now we are going to bring in our UV lamp. I'm moving this slightly back and turning that on. Now this has an automatic timer, and that's going to run for 1 minute. And cure times for something like this that's mostly clear and has a little bit of glitter probably only needs about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes cure time. Now, if I had a ton of glitter in there, very dark colors, if I add other things like tints or anything that's going to block the light, it's going to need more minutes to cure because that light needs more time to kind of get around. A lot of times when I'm curing, I'll kind of maybe readjust it a little bit. I just want to make sure that those UV rays are getting to every part of what I'm curing. Also, UV resin cures in the sun because the natural UV rays from the sun cure this product very, very well. So if you're crafting on a sunny day, you can put it on a sunny windowsill, put it outside, and within 5 to 10 minutes, if it's really sunny, it will be cured. Even if it's not super sunny, it may take 20 minutes or so outside. You don't have to worry about over curing it. I've left the piece outside because I forgot about it on my patio for a couple days, and it was just fine. All right, so that ran for a minute. I hit the button to turn it back on again. And while that goes, I'm going to get some of the jewelry pieces that we need to connect these. So first I need a jump ring that's going to connect the two pieces. And then I need something that looks like this. So this is a flat pad or a stud earring finding. So you can glue anything to that stud and create yourself a custom pair of stud earrings. And those are the only two things that I need. Let's see how these are doing. I'm just going to turn them around. Let's see, how are we going to stack these together? I just want to make sure that it's hitting all parts of it. So that went for another minute. And if I pull this up, the first thing you'll notice is it's a little warm, and that is totally natural. That means that it's doing what it should do because in the curing process, it does create heat. And if I just kind of push up on the back of that, you can see that it has already turned into a hardened piece of plastic. If it's still a little bit sticky, this one isn't really sticky. You can always cure it a little bit longer outside of the mold. But this is looking good, and this is exactly how it comes out. And you can see on the back, maybe if I turn it into this direction, you can see there's a little jaggedy part here, just from where it was around the little thing that creates the hang holes. So you can kind of go over it with your nail, just kind of take off that little extra bit of resin. And what I mean by the thing that creates the hang holes is you'll notice on this mold, they have these little things here. And that creates the hole at the top of your shape so you can connect it to something else. But not every shape has that. So like there's this heart shape, it doesn't have that little. And there's this half dome shape, it doesn't have that little peg there. Okay, so this is warm. I can feel it here. You do want to wait, especially on bigger shapes or bigger open shapes, you do want to let that cool because in the process of taking it out of the mold, you can kind of bend it a little bit. But let's see how we got it here. Look how pretty that is. So pretty. And so I'm just kind of looking at it. You can feel around the edges, see if there's any rough edges. If there are, you can take a little nail file and just kind of like knock off any raw edges. But this is looking good. Okay, and so we're going to connect these like this. So the holes, I'm situating the holes right here. And where's the hole? It's so hard to see. Right there. Okay, so I'm going to connect these two. So to do that, I need something called a jump ring. So this is one of the larger jump rings. This is an 8mm size. We'll see if that's big enough. So I opened it up like a coil. You see how I opened that? One hand goes away and one hand goes toward me. Find where the hole is that keeps disappearing on me. Ah, there it is. And you just slide that on there. Before you close up the jump ring, we need to slide on this piece as well. This is where you may need to reposition where your pliers are because you're connecting two thick things together. Now they're both on the jump ring, and I can bring in another set of pliers to close that jump ring. So I'm always moving like this, never like this. If you move like this, you'll never get it back into that perfect shape. So you just want to adjust it so those ends come exactly back together. And we're almost done. So you can see how easy this is to customize as well. They've got so many beautiful glitters, beautiful glitter flakes, that you can make it virtually in any color that you want. And now we need the back of the earring, and I had that for you guys, and I knocked it off the table. So let's get another one. Here we go. So we want to glue that onto the back here. And to do that, we are just going to use more UV resin. So I'm going to put a little dot of it on here. UV resin makes a wonderful, wonderful adhesive. And then I'm going to set this down. Sometimes helps to grab onto it with some pliers just to hold it. And I'm making sure that the resin comes up over the edge of that it's not just underneath. And making sure that it's perfectly positioned. And then let's bring the light in. I'm gonna let that go for about 10 seconds, and then I'm gonna scooch this whole thing back so that you have something more fun to look at than this. Okay, so now I know that it's grabbed just in about 10 seconds. That first layer of resin is gonna be hardened already. All right, so let's actually talk about our next piece. So our next piece looks like this, and it comes from that same mold, this outer ring here. And this one, we are going to learn a new technique of creating kind of a separation in two different resin colors. Both of these are just clear resin that are colored with glitter. This is colored with a black glitter, like this. So there's no tint in there, just the glitter itself is giving it that dark tone. Okay, so that went for 1 minute. I'm just going to pop it on for another minute. And I do want to be careful about mixing up my next color because this light is on. So if I put this here and start mixing up things in it, that light is going to start hardening the resin before I want it to. So that's why I'm kind of putting this off to the side a little bit. And in this case, we are going to use some of these glitter flakes. Put those in there. And I'm just reusing the same cup as I used in the last one, since that was gold as well, and adding resin. Giving that a little stir. Okay, so that I want to be the bottom of the earring. So a little tip for you is you can tilt your mold, kind of like put something under it. I put just this little glitter thing, container. I can tilt my mold up a little bit. And so gravity will help it naturally go to the shape where you want it to go. And let's just start pouring in here carefully. And if that happens, if you get some glitter where you don't want it to be, well, we can just scooch that down. And I do want to keep this as full as possible without overflowing down here because gravity is bringing this down. And also be mindful of your edges. Now, it is very difficult to get a perfectly straight barrier between these two. I'm going to show you some examples of what I mean. All right, so that's good. We're going to put the light on it. And while that's cooking, I'm going to show you what I mean by difficult to get barriers. So this is a piece that we made in our Christmas class from last year. And we tried to have 4 different colors, all using different color glitters. And it was a good idea and it can be done, but it's very, very difficult. Just you shouldn't go into it with the expectation that the barrier between colors is going to be perfect. There's going to be a little bit of blend between. You see what I mean? Difficult to control so that the lines are completely flat. See what I mean here? Okay, so that's gone for a little bit. I can actually remove this and just let this go flat the rest of the way. And let's take a look at the earring that we finished earlier. Let's turn that back on. And this is it. All we need is an earring back to slide on there, and you have a perfectly custom holiday earring to wear. Simple as that. Okay, so while this is going, I'm going to push it a little off to the side. I'm going to get a new cup here and some more resin. Now for this, I want this black glitter. Of course, that color choice is up to you. This is kind of a black iridescent. The camera really doesn't pick up how beautiful this is. I'm looking at it on camera and it just looks like it's kind of black with silver, but to my eye, it's black with there are greens and purples in there. It's really, really pretty. Adding some of that to the resin. And as I always like to say, measure with your heart. I've seen people add so much glitter. You just have to watch the way that you cure it if you're adding a lot of glitter. Okay, I like the way that looks. Not completely opaque. Still have some space in between those glitter particles so that the light can reach. Okay, so this has gone for 2 minutes under there. I don't know if you can hear that, but it is nice and hardened. Okay, so now we're going to add the top. And I'm going to start at the top. And just going slowly. And at this point, I'm not actually worried about filling this mold up completely. I'm more worried about attempting to get a straight line here. I can always come back if I didn't fill the mold up completely. I can always come back and fill it up with a few drops of clear. All right, that looks good. Before this starts to migrate, I'm going to lock that down. Let's cure that before that starts moving and grooving all over the place, which it will do. Okay, so here is our example earring. So you can see this has an earring topper that is constructed in very much the same way that we constructed that first earring. And I've actually already made a couple of those. Those are earring toppers. But do not feel like you have to always make the top. You can make it out of beads, like a pearl. You can buy earring toppers, like little metal pieces like this. I'll show you an earring. We just did this class last week where it uses a metal earring topper. The top of that. This one doesn't have the ear wire on it, but you see what I mean? And there's all sorts of toppers, like a shape like this. Now, if you're using an earring topper like this, then you know that you need two connection points here. So you may have to drill some connection points, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay, did that go 1 minute or 2 minutes? I've lost count, but let's let it go a little more. Let's see what else I can share with you. So the options for what you can put inside resin, it's almost endless. Here we're using glitter and glitter flakes, but you can use this one uses little candy bits. This one uses some confetti, um, dried flowers, always a great option. Here's another one with dried flowers we just made the other day, so pretty. This one, this earring, you'll never guess what this is. Maybe you will. This is actually a piece of chain, like box chain, chunky box chain, that we just put inside the mold in clear resin and cured it. And it looks so, so cool. So metal could go in there, sand, shell, paper, stickers. Um, and I saw a question about tinting it. Yes, you can tint it. Yes, we do sell tints, and they look a little something like this. Just a couple drops of that will tint the resin almost any color that you want. Okay, so now I'm just checking to see, is my mold full? And it's not. I don't know if you guys can see, maybe a little bit. But now I can this is all like solid in there. I don't have to worry about messing it up by adding resin. I can just fill the mold with clear on the back, and that'll make sure that I have it full to the top and no low spots. You can go in with your stick and just push that around, make sure it's gotten to any low spots. That'll give you a nice smooth back. You definitely don't want to do this step in the previous step, because the previous step was all about establishing where the colors are, establishing kind of a sharp line, as sharp line as you can do, and then fill up the mold in a second step. All right, let's take a look at some more pieces here. Here's another piece using that same black glitter, but for the earring topper, we used a slightly larger mold, and that is a dried flower in there. And here is another one. This one we did not attach an ear wire to it, but maybe I'll use this one to show you how to do that. So if you have gotten this far, which hopefully you know how to get this far now, how to add glitter, how to pop it out of the mold, how to connect it together. And let's say that you want to use an ear wire that looks like this. In that case, you need to have another hole up here to connect this to. And let me show you how to do that while this one goes for its second minute. So you're going to want a hand drill. If you have like a Dremel drill, an electric drill, with a very fine bit like this, have at it. But all I have is this little hand drill. It's got a 1.5 mm bit, and that is just the perfect size for adding a hole here. So you want to line it up directly across from this bottom hole. And you want to keep it about a 1/16 of an inch from the edge. And let's see if we can keep it straight and even. Ooh, right about there. So once I find the spot, I can just start turning. And that soon we're all the way through. And we just reverse it. You might need to clean it up a little bit. Sometimes a little bit of the remnants get stuck here in the hole. But there you go. Now you have a hole up at the top. You also have a bunch of shrapnel on your desk. And then we'll connect this with a jump ring. So I'll just show you how to do that really quickly. Using my tool to find the break in the jump ring, bringing one hand toward me, one away from me. That opens it like a coil. Then I can go through my newly made hole. And before I close it, I just add this. Then turn that back. Okay. So if you don't love this type of earring, that sits right against your earlobe, you can use this type of earring, but you may need to drill an extra hole. Okay? All right, let's see what we have here. So here's our piece. It is nice and cooled. So I'm just going to pop that out. And this is exactly what we have. You can see we've got some little extra little bitties here hanging off. So these usually you can just kind of pull them off and they're gonna pull off just fine. If you feel weird about that, you can use some snippers to snip off any little extra bits of resin. Oh, there's one right there. It's gonna like want to break at the right spot. There's a little bit there. And again, I can always go in with a nail file, even through the center, and just to make sure my edges are all nice and smooth. Okay. And I have this that I made earlier. And we need to connect them. I'm going to use my largest jump ring that I have in this box, which is 8 mm. Hopefully that will be large enough to connect these two. Sometimes you have to kind of work it to get it to go in there. Because this is a curved jump ring, we're putting a straight edge through it. And so let's close that up. Okay, so here we're going to do dealer's choice. I'm going to show you all the different ways of different types of earring findings that can work with this. So here's all the different ones available. You have your classic kind of hooks, different styles of hooks. You have a hoop. That doesn't work so well with this. Let's take him away. And then you have different stud findings, like these that have a little ball and a loop at the end. So like this would look like that, for example. That might be overkill to have like topper. So I think that I'm just gonna go with this one, the simple glue-on kind. Little dot on here like we did before. And then using pliers just to make it easier for yourself. Making sure that comes up over the edges. And I can even use the pliers to hold it in place until it grabs. Let's let that sit over here while we prep for our last earring. So if you have any questions, now is a great time to ask them in the chat. I will try to answer them if I see them, but I don't always see them. And just doing a little bit of cleanup here with some Scotch tape, which I find is a great way to clean up all the little bits of shrapnel and glitter and stuff that are inevitably going to get on your work surface. Okay, the last earring we're going to do is this earring. We're going to do this in a few different parts. So first we're going to do the gold glitter at the front here. And then we're going to do the dark glitter on the back. And then we're going to use a bead to kind of jazz up the top of that. In this case, it's a black faceted bead, but any bead will work. This is a great way, since you only need one bead, to use up maybe some extra beads that you have laying around. You can see how pretty a pearl would have been there, a white pearl. This is a colorful pearl, maybe not. Or even just a metal bead, maybe slightly larger than this one. So I'll show you how to add that bead, because you need to learn a new jewelry technique, which is the creation of a basic loop. Okay, so let's get the mold for this one, which is right here, this U-shaped mold. And I did not mention it earlier, but when you're working with molds, it's important to understand that the front of your finished piece that you pull out of the mold is actually under here. The front is down. So when you pop it out, you turn it over and that's the front. That's important to understand on this particular earring, because we're going to first do these glitter flakes in clear, and then we're going to put the black on the back of it, which will be the part facing us. I hope that I am explaining that well. I have this cup from the last earring. I'm just going to reuse this cup. It has those glitter flakes in it already, but let's just roll with it. And I'm going to add some of these flakes that I showed you right at the beginning of class. And maybe this big gold one right here. And again, just breaking these up. I don't want this color in there, or this color. These are those rainbow flakes from Recollections. I don't want that one either. Okay, so let's break these up so they are smaller. Okay. And I changed my mind on this cup. I'm actually going to show you that you can take the resin directly into the mold. So I'm going to do a little bit of resin in here, and I want to fill it up less than halfway, maybe a third of the way. And sometimes you'll get a bubble. See this bubble here? And you can just pop it. It'll pop right out. And I'm just scooching this around to the edges. And now I can carefully place my glitter where I want it to go. And this is how you would add little metal charms, little seed beads if you wanted to sink some seed beads down in here, and just add them one by one, just by kind of dipping the stick in, picking up. This one tried to get away. Get in there. Okay. And the great thing about UV resin is, unlike me, who's constantly rushed in these classes, you can take your time. You can take your time and come back to it. You can go make dinner and come back to it. And it will stay in its liquid form until it is exposed to UV light. So you can come back the next day. I don't like this one. This one seems like it's the only one that's kind of that rose gold. So I'm taking that out. And you can even break them up when it's already in the mold. These things are so thin, these little flakes. Okay, I like the way that looks. Now, before I do anything else, before I mix up that black color to go in the back, I want to first cure this for 1 minute because I've taken time to get those elements, those little flakes, exactly where I want them. If I would fill the mold up or if I would add my second layer, it's just going to make all of that go and move stuff around. So I don't want that to happen. I want to lock in my work here. So I'm just going to cure it. This is kind of like a pre-cure, I guess you could say, for 1 minute. And I'm going to bring back out, let me move this off to the side. This is my same that I use, and I'm just trying to judge, do I need to mix up more? Maybe a little bit more. All right, and so this is now mostly cured, and I'm just going to add a thin layer of this darker color to the back of the earring. And this is going to, well, it's going to fill the mold, but it's also going to make those glitter flakes really pop. And I just keep adding drop by drop. So it looks to me like it's full. All right, that's looking pretty good. There we go. I'm gonna do that for probably at least 3 minutes. And I'm going to use that to, I was hoping we had time for this, and it looks like we are going to have time. I am going to show you another way of working with resin after I finish this piece. So all of the pieces that we've done come from molds, but there's a second very popular way of working with resin that starts with a frame called a bezel. So I'm going to show you how to start with a bezel and craft inside the bezel. All right, so don't let me forget about that. Okay, so we'll come back to that. I want to show you how to make this earring topper. So a bead of your choice, any bead. And you want a special finding called an eye pin. So there's lots of pins in jewelry making, but these are the two most popular. This is a head pin. It's got a head on it like a nail head. This is an eye pin. It's got an eye like a loop. So we want the eye pin because we are creating something that has a loop on either side. We're taking that bead and there's a loop here and a loop here that allows us to connect to other things. So I can slide this on, and one of my loops is already done. I just need to create another loop on this side that exactly matches that one. It's easier than you think. Ooh. It's easier than you think. If you've never done this before, it may look difficult, but once you do this, you'll become an expert. So entire necklaces are made of beads in this way. For example, rosary necklaces. This is exactly how you create each individual bead link on a rosary. So I have my pair of round nose pliers. You can see they're like cone shaped. And I want to situate that at the top. And I'm going to bend the wire 90 degrees. All right, so this is what we have now. And then I want to snip this wire because I don't need all of this. I just need enough wire to make a loop. And for me, that's about, it's less than a half an inch. It's more than a quarter of an inch. So let's say 3/8 of an inch right there. Cut it. Okay, then we go back to our round nose pliers. So this is what we have. And we're going to grab that little tip right at the end and then turn our wrist back. And that creates like a candy cane. Oh, there, can you see? There's the candy cane. And we just grab the candy cane again and keep coming further back until we have a loop. And you may need to like fix the loop a little bit. Mine's a little twisted. There we go. So there's our loop. And that's how you can turn any bead into, now this is called a connector, because I can connect something on this side and on this side. We are also going to need an earring finding. And a jump ring. I just realized what I did wrong. I wanted to use this. Oops. I wanted to use a U, but I accidentally put it in this shape. So, oh well, we're not getting a U-shape earring. We're going to be getting this rounded rectangle shape. Sorry to disappoint. I really love these U's, by the way. That to me just looks like so chic on an earring. All right, so I'm going to connect all of these up while I'm waiting for this to finish. So here I have my ear wire. I'm just kind of like opening the end of it so it can accept this little piece. Closing that. So now those two are connected. This jump ring is going to go through my piece. So I'm going to wait to connect that. Let's see how we're doing here. A little bit warm. Oh, it's so pretty. It is so pretty. And then just going around the edges, see if there's anything that needs to be snipped off. There's some extra little bits here. I like that. All right, let's connect it together and then I'll show you the bezel. Okay, jump ring. Open that up and thread it through. Thread this on. Now we're going to close it up. Very nice. Again, possibilities are endless as the type of bead that you use and the type of glitter and flakes that you use. Okay, final thing is bezels. We have just a few minutes left. So this is a piece that comes out of a mold, and this uses dried flowers. This is the same kind of general idea, but we start with a bezel. So it starts with a gold frame around it. So I'll show you how to work with bezels. They look like this. They're considered open back bezels, and you're going to need a special tool. It's a tape. It's a special polyester tape to work with bezels. So I'm just going to cut a piece of that tape and put it sticky side up and stick my bezel down on it. Really taking time to make sure that this tape is stuck to the back of this bezel because it's going to stop any type of oozing from happening. The next step you have to do with every bezel is a quick kind of a first coat. A little bit of resin in there. Now, opposite of what we did on the molds, when you're working with a bezel, the front is what's facing you. So I'm just moving the resin around a little bit because I want it to make contact with all of the sides, all the edges. And we are going to cure that for 1 minute. So these same steps, regardless of what your bezel shape is, because they come in all different shapes. There's even bezels that are already kind of like an earring you can fill. No matter what shape or size or thickness that your bezel is, you want to go through these same steps. Cut a piece of tape, stick it to the tape, do a thin first coat, and then like, possibilities are endless. I'm going to show you because it's just so many people love dried flowers. I'm going to show you a piece with dried flowers. Okay, so in the UV resin section at Michael's, you are going to find a whole bunch of dried flowers for you to use. I'm going to put just a little tiny little dot there in the center. This is just so that those dried flowers have something to stick to. Dipping my stick in there and picking up a flower. So this one that I'm putting down is essentially the back, like the background. And then I want this one because it's smaller. Working with some autumn tones here. I'll lay that down. And needs something to stick to. There we go. And you can create a little, let's say, a flower collage. Once you have your flowers in place, you fill it up to the top with more resin. And any air bubbles, you can just poke them. All right, let's cure it. So I know I went through that really, really fast, but I just wanted to see, since this is a beginner level class, I wanted you to see the two most popular ways of working with UV resin. Number one is molds, and number two is bezels. So with the bezels, you can create just all kinds of beautiful things. Here's a bezel with some little flowers. Here's a bezel with like a galaxy theme. So as we wait for this to cure, I just want to thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you for lasting until the very, very end. And I hope that you'll join us for more classes. We teach UV resin classes and polymer clay jewelry making classes. So check out michaels.com on the classes and events page and look for jewelry classes in polymer clay and UV resin. And we hope to see you here next time. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.